thought I was good. Yeah, no lighter. See how long that lasts. We live?
Yeah, you're good. You're live.
Okay, cool. Let's tweet it out and build the room up a little bit before we get going. You send us a link in the group chat or in our chats?
You said it's about it's out there.
It's on the timeline?
Yeah, he already sent it.
Okay, cool. Bad. All right. Thank y'all a little bit, man. All right, 3, 2, 1. It's the Roll Up Network. It's the vibes. We're kicking it doing a conference realignment show, man. A lot of historic things going down. So we had to pull up. I had to pull up with my guys. I got CJ, got Chef Maul, got my guy OG Who from the Virginia podcast. We kicking it a little bit, man. Fellas, introduce yourselves.
Got CJ, man. Your boy CJ Wilson with the Roll Up podcast, the FSU portion of it. You can follow me on Twitter, CJ Wilson 850. All things FSU. We'll give it to you raw. So I just represent the FSU portion of the Roll Up podcast, the main podcast.
Chef Maul here, 26 Degrees producer and representing Miami today, as you guys know, and holding it down.
Nice.
It's your boy OG Who, straight out here out of Virginia, baby. Repping that Virginia portion of the roll up. You know what I'm saying? Look me up, OG Who, repping the Hood podcast, OG Who 34, everything. Twitter. You know what I mean? We out here.
ACC,
right.
baby, right?
Big
Yes,
ACC.
sir.
Big ACC vibe.
Big ACC.
Right, for right now.
For right now.
Yeah.
I get y'all boys on to shoot it, man. A lot of the talk is about the ACC. There have been some talk about rumors. Everything's rumors and smokes, man. A lot of this we don't have any concrete stuff on. There's a lot of innuendos and Twitter stuff we're gonna be talking about here. But the SEC and the Big Ten are looking to poach programs right now across the country. There seems to be a 2-team or 2-conference type situation that's going on as far as top dogs. Of course, the Pac-12 is trying to do their thing, Big 12 is trying to do their thing to grab some programs here and there. But it looks like the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to be the big juggernauts in all of this. So we got our ACC brethren on from the network to kick it a little bit. What's your overall stance on them all? How do you see Miami fitting in? I know there's been some fit talk about how does Miami fit in with either the Big Ten or the SEC, and maybe them being not in the conference, because originally there's some talk. Everything's innuendos and smoke, but there's some talk that they may not be coming to the SEC. But how do you see it playing out, and what you think is the best fit for Miami?
In terms of best fit for Miami, personally, I think SEC is the better fit just because of geography. It's closer, and you got the hub to Atlanta. You go to a lot of places. Versus if you playing in the Big Ten, you're gonna be taking a lot of flights late. Them November games in Michigan, I can't imagine that. I don't want to imagine that. So for me, it makes sense geographically and the ability to stay connected with Atlanta, other places in the South, Texas for that matter, because now SEC includes Texas. So that's our recruiting ground. So for me, SEC makes more sense based on that. And with that said, but if the SEC didn't send an invite and Big Ten says one, hey, we got to go where we got to get in where you fit in at that point.
I think you still could probably hit on like because there's some rumors about Notre Dame maybe going to the Big Ten, so that gives you opportunity to rekindle that rivalry in some fashion.
Right. Miami, Ohio State got tension from that one championship. Miami, Penn State's a rivalry.
Right.
Miami, Michigan would become one. Like Miami, you could put Miami, USC, Miami, UCLA. There's a lot of good games, but at the same time, Purdue,
There's no Wisconsin, right?
Oh, no Wisconsin, right? I
want that smoke. Wisconsin be leaning on shit, man.
But now, to your point though, Maul. My bad. I just want to touch on something real
good.
quick that Maul has said. Yeah, I get what you're saying as far as geographically, but the weather doesn't really concern me because half of those November games, half of those games are going to be down south, right? So you can split in two of those games, and then basically it's just a luck of the draw for those last two games, and it's not, we I think we get those winters. Don't get me wrong, it gets cold during the end of November, but you're not really in the harsh winter until you're like December, January, where it's like affected by snow and that type of deal. You're probably getting like games within the 20s or something, but 20s, 30s, but you guys should be okay with that. I mean,
I wasn't even meaning the on the field product. I'm just talking about from a fan perspective, like,
yeah,
I don't want to be in the
okay, as far as
hey, fuck them.
Yeah, right.
Fuck the games. Like, I don't want to sit in cold bleachers. I do think I agree with CJ somewhat as far as like the weather, but it's different. South Florida kids, like, bro, it don't take much for us to be freezing cold.
Nope. And then on the flip side, you got to think about those Big Ten teams coming down. Yeah, and they're still humid as hell in November and stuff like that. So, I don't know. My bad. Pros or cons?
Yeah, it could go either way. How do you see it fitting for Miami? I do think I'm with Maul. I do think SEC is a better fit for them culturally, even though it's not the greatest fit with with the old SEC. Who knows what the new SEC feel going to be like with them expanding? You already got teams like Mizzou and other programs that don't really fit in the greatest. But they made it work. So I think the best fit would be SEC for Miami from a lot of standpoints, because I don't think they fans, they don't travel well, and going to like those type of programs, I don't know how well they're gonna travel, and also how much these recruits are gonna want to play Wisconsin and those type of programs. They're gonna want to play teams in the South, like teams they grew up watching, the Georgias, Alabamas, Florida State, and they'll keep the Florida State rivalry going, of course. But they're going to lose some matchups, southern matchups that's going to be key to these recruits and kids that watch that ball and are familiar with certain programs playing each other.
And I think, too, I also look at it from a network perspective. I don't think ESPN wants to let Miami go to Fox, neither, to be Pac-10 based. So that's another reason why I feel like if SEC is going to probably end up getting Miami, I don't think ESPN wants to let go of one of those brands that they already got in their pocket.
What do you mean by that?
This is how I feel about realignment. I feel like ESPN is kind of moving the money for the SEC, and I think Fox is moving the money for the Big Ten. If you look at how they moved, you get Texas and Oklahoma to join SEC, right? They no longer had to pay that Longhorn network. So instead of paying Texas for the Longhorn network, ESPN just said, we're going to put you here. And if you follow, it's just like the wire. You follow the money, it makes sense. You look at Fox. Fox was over the Pac-10. Fox got UCLA, USC to go to the Big Ten, and now they're investing heavy into the Big Ten. And the Fox literally said, "We're not investing no more money in the Pac-12." So these two networks are the ones really making these moves. I think the conferences, of course, got to say, but I feel like if a network wants one team over the other, I think that's what's going to drive the final decision, because networks is why Texas and OU's where they're at, and why USC and UCLA are where they're at.
Right. Shout out my man Andy Staple. He dropped an article, and I don't have an On3 account, so I can't read the entire thing. But he ranked, like, as far as TV viewers, the ranking without SEC, without Notre Dame, and without the Big Ten. I guess he's trying to figure out the worth of what these programs may want. And they had most million plus viewers on games without those conferences I mentioned. And they had Clemson at 1, Florida State at 2, Washington at 3, Oregon, and then Miami, and then Washington State, Oklahoma. I don't know, like, what these TV deals or how the conferences are weighing things out, because there's also some rooms about Florida may be not happy, and these are coming from random accounts. But there's some smoke about Florida may not be happy with Miami joining, and also maybe Tennessee not happy with North Carolina's and programs like that joining, just from like conflict of like I guess broadcasting and recruiting as well. You're gonna bump heads, man. It's just being in similar areas. But what's your overall take on the graphic that Harlan just put up right there?
Yeah, man. So it's just pretty much, to be honest, man, from my perspective, Clemson, FSU has been the cash cows from the football perspective for pretty much. Well, I'll say from the football perspective for the ACC, those have been the big draws. Even though Florida State's been down of late, still a draw as far as name wise and the fan base itself.
Y'all still watching the males,
right? Exactly. That's one thing. We committed. We committed to it, baby.
Y'all watching them.
I know how I feel.
We love pain.
And also, the graphic was from 2015 to 2019 and the 2021 season. And you look at Clemson and Florida State play each other every year. And then Louisville was good for a little while. So I know those games kind of helped the profile of why probably Florida State got more games and Clemson got more games, but they're playing each other every year. Florida State plays Miami. And of course, Clemson, got more big games because they were kind of the team running things over a while. But definitely, like I said, those are all the brands the SEC wants. I think the SEC gets Clemson, Florida State, Miami. Whatever comes after that, they'll make it work.
I don't know who's running the Double Fries account right now, but they talking cash.
How do y'all think Miami is? Or do you think the SEC values Miami as far as like within that pecking order of FSU, Clemson, or is it like other teams like Virginia, North Carolina that they could value a little bit more?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Mom.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think Miami's first, but if you could include Miami in the package, you'll take Miami in the package, right? I think adding Miami, it helps. And I think SEC is probably going to go at least 16 to 20. So then you just got to ask yourself, what are the 4 brands they want to add? Because I don't think this go around geography. I don't think matters as much. So it's not like how Rutgers and Maryland.
I think geography matters as far as like tapping into untapped markets like Virginia and North Carolina.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what the SEC may be looking for variety, be able to tap into some markets that we're not tapping in. That's what they want.
There's a lot of money in North Carolina and Virginia. A lot,
absolutely. The area.
Yeah, Virginia itself, and you could probably speak on it further, bro. As far as the Virginia money, I know Virginia got pretty good money in that area.
Virginia got a lot of money, and you know what I'm saying. You see, and you read a lot of articles now that's coming out where is SEC mentions and big mentions, and that's not solely based off, you know what I'm saying? We ain't got no strong football brand. Our strong football brand was in like the 90s when, you know what I'm saying, Tiki Barber and them played. You know what I'm saying? So today's brand is more basketball, all them other, you know what I'm saying, NCAA sports and academics. Right. And, I feel like the SEC would want a school like Virginia because, Virginia should want to do that because it'll bring in more bread for you, you know what I'm saying, to begin with, more exposure. There's a whole bigger ball game. And then all them other sports, you're going to dominate in basketball, but I think that'll bring a new game to the football side. You know what I'm saying? Then you see a lot of people want to bring up VT brand versus Virginia brand. I think both schools would come together because I remember back in the day, when Virginia Tech tried to join the ACC, they denied them at first. And Virginia had, you know what I'm saying, told them we was going to leave if they didn't join. So whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying?
Y'all holding the boys down like that? I thought y'all was beefing. We ain't holding Florida State down like that.
Bro, that was 20-some years ago. And if you ask me today, if I had to ask me, I'm going to kick the chair. Let them go right down on their own.
How do you feel about Virginia overall joining the SEC, like a conference like that? Because y'all know you guys aren't, like you said, aren't a football power. So how do you feel about joining a conference like that where it's hard to build, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. It'll be hard to build going.
Do you think it could be my bad for interrupting, but do you think it could be better to build with SEC influx of money, SEC logo behind you, SEC revenue, things like that? Because I don't think Virginia, because Virginia is y'all are okay football program. Not like y'all not like terrible, but it's just the notoriety and I guess being more. How can I put this?
I think the academics a little bit tougher than that.
They are. Yeah. We got
like Vandy a little bit.
Side. That's a good comparison right there. Is Vanderbilt, and I feel like if we came into the SEC at this point, that is who we would be to start off with. But I think with the influx of money and you know what I'm saying, the new revenue, like you said, that logo. When you out here recruiting this hotbed state that we in,
I'm about to say because it's challenging the 757.
Yeah, all 3 of y'all programs know and benefit from the state of Virginia.
Absolutely.
And you get a program like that and an established and strong conference like that, that does nothing to me but increase your brand and makes it stronger. you know what I'm saying, makes it more appealing for your pipeline state that you in. You know, so I think it's definitely an opportunity to build in the SEC, especially having new facilities coming, you know what I'm saying, in 2 years. That'll be prime right there.
Right.
For when you get into the jump.
I got a question to add to that. In terms of the decision makers at UVA, do you think that they're more looking at the Big Ten due to the AAU association? Do you think, I feel like the people on the streets probably want the SEC, but do you think the higher ups are more looking at the Big 12, excuse me, at the Big Ten?
I think you got it reversed. I think the people in the streets, like the people like me, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna say I want to go to the big. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to wait 5 to 7 years going to spend falls, you know what I'm saying, out there in the swamp, go lose by 30, gotta go to Tuscaloosa, lose by 53, you know what I'm saying, to the walk-ons. That's a tough road. You know what I'm saying?
53 is wild.
To the walk-on.
Right. It's accurate too, though.
Yeah. But as far as the athletic director, you got to remember, and well, you might not know, but the Virginia athletic director used to work at Georgia, and she was Georgia's athletic director. She had a big part in, you know what I'm saying, firing Mark Richt, hiring it, you know what I'm saying, old boy now that's there. You know, so Carla Williams has a strong presence in the SEC. So for me, I see them trying to push to get more money and go with that strong brand. To go ahead and finally awake that sleeping giant that's out here, you know.
Right. There's some smoke about Washington State, Oregon State, and Cal reached out to the Mountain West, and a lot of shenanigans with the Big 12, Arizona and Colorado and schools like that, you know, trying to do their thing. What's the smoke on the loose partnership with ACC? Because that's what some of that been hitting the timeline in the news. And there's been some pushback with it as well. A loose partnership with the ACC and Pac-12.
That's the same type of relationship they just had with
the Big 12,
with the Big 12. Yeah. And look what happened. That's some dudes sitting at a table.
Some bullshit handshake.
That little handshake. And then you turn around and you leave. You know what I'm saying? You come in for a job interview. I offer you 25. You leave. Somebody be like, hey, well, look, I know they give you 25. I'm finna give you 30. You know what you're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? You know what's better for your program, and they did what was right. They had a verbal agreement. All that is just like handshakes, just like bro said right there. That won't number handshakes, and that's why the ACC in limbo like it is now for real.
Double Fry No Slaw
established.
Double Fry No Slaw have made it to the show. Shout out my man Ty. TJ, what it do, man?
How you guys doing? Double Fries no canes tonight. They're getting left out.
Okay, I like it.
That's Double Fries no cane.
You got Miami being left out of the SEC.
Invite only.
Invite only. Yeah, must.
Y'all boys are something else, man. Y'all talk greasy about the SEC all these years, man. They ready to talk crazy to you, Kwame. Kwame's in the flux right now. He's like, bro, I cannot get let out of the SEC. That's the only troll. That's the only troll on the table because everybody's about to draw.
And that's exactly what it is, right? Right. We got troll
on the table. Right. Everybody's like the conference shit is over. It's gonna be about 2 big leagues here in a minute. So all that trolling about conference is gonna be dead. The only troll left is if somebody get left out of the SEC now.
We'll look on the bright side though. So if Miami get left out, they can stay in the ACC and they can dominate. You know, win a couple championships down in the ACC.
Beat Syracuse.
I mean, it goes back to the Big East, right?
We going straight to the Big Ten.
Go back to that conference. Go back to the Big East.
The Big East to the Big Least. I don't think y'all were talking about it. All right, as much as I want to give them all a hard time and everything else, like I don't think the biggest thing to me, and I'm sorry if I was watching on my phone. That was me getting greasy in the comments earlier, but the biggest thing to me is I don't think that they
were greasy, TJ.
Yeah, whatever, bro. It's all the same for me. I don't think the Big Ten would want to lose out on that recruiting ground. I don't think the SEC would want to lose out on that recruiting ground. Yeah, I know that Miami hasn't. Miami hasn't done a great job of keeping talent home. But if the SEC can lock down the entire state with all 3 teams, I'm not saying all those kids are going to start going to Miami. I mean, I do think Mario is going to do a good job and has already kind of shown that he's done a good job. But, you know, like, so all trolls aside, like, I do think that they want to keep that South Florida, like, Southern territory. Like I don't think they want
here's
that.
my
I
thing.
think they want to cut off that pipeline that exists right now to like Ohio State and all those other places.
No, but if I'm a
That's a
big
good
dog,
point. That's a
if
good
I'm,
point
if,
because
if,
a lot
if-
of
here's the thing though, if I'm Bama or from Florida or from Georgia, like you don't care if Miami is out of the SEC because you want Miami,
Right.
and
But
you
here's
think
the-
you can still convince those kids to still play in the South against programs that they're used to seeing. So if you Georgia, you Alabama, or you Florida, you're like, bro, yeah, lead them out. We don't, like Florida State's in the Panhandle, that don't really affect us. But yeah, we want Dade because those kids are already coming to our programs in big numbers.
Yeah, but you don't think it would change if Miami was in the Big Ten and now Michigan
Yeah,
could say, Ohio State could say, if I'm the SEC, if I'm like Ole Miss, I want Miami because now I can tell a Miami kid, yeah, we're gonna be down there too. Like to me, that's a big.
Oh no,
that-
them kids don't care about that shit.
Do you?
They don't
do
give
you?
one shit.
I saw Maul. I did have a question. I don't.
They
want
don't
to
care
troll
about
too
the
much.
duffel in Florida. In Florida, bro, Florida, the whole state ain't just Miami no more. The whole state of Florida is for sale. Shout out to, we trying to keep some of them in state, but this state has been for sale for like the last decade, bro, and that's just what it is.
You know,
These kids don't care about playing in-state rivals, playing in front of mom at home, saving about flights, and give them a Hellcat.
yeah, and because it used to be in the '90s, people are saying like, I mean, this isn't really what it's all about, but people say like, when will the big three all get back? I mean, they just won't. They won't get back because like
they let it
kids
go.
can travel,
They lost
right?
their
Like
grip.
back when you could only watch Florida State, Florida, and Miami on TV. It was easy to keep kids home. You could be on a flight to Columbus in 2 hours, bro. Like that ain't a big deal, man. Like
Nah,
that's
it's real smaller.
flights are cheap. You can Ohio State's on TV everywhere. And I know this is not really what it's talking about, conference realignment stuff, but there's not going to be like
that's the main thing I was saying. It's all about the TV money, though, man. Like all
Yeah,
that,
100%.
all that proximity and travel. Like we just seen first, we seen Texas and Oklahoma come to the SEC, even though that's a little closer. That was a shocker in itself. And then you have two West Coast teams in USC and UCLA go to the Big Ten. Like I mean that if that tells you that the proximity doesn't mean anything nowadays, then nothing else will.
It's not regional anymore, right? And that's what they're saying. Like people talk about. I mean, to give Miami some
It could
credit,
be
like,
if the SEC grabbed Miami in this whole thing, then it
It'll keep it
is
more
regional.
regional.
Then it
Well,
is
for
regional.
for FSU's point, I think it's regional because you have so many teams that's within driving distance. That's why FSU is a really good draw. Tuscaloosa is like 5 hours. Auburn is like 3.5. We know how close. We know how close Florida is, right? Baton Rouge,
Georgia,
is within 7
Florida,
hours.
yeah.
Georgia, 5 hours. Hell, Knoxville is within 8 hours. So we're talking about 10 or so teams within the 8 hour drive. And think about all of the revenue that would be coming to Tallahassee because we know how well SEC fans travel, right? Now you have these marquee matchups that we typically see, you know, the CBS game of the week, you know, on the SEC game of the week or whatnot, have that in Tallahassee. You know, it's college town to go crazy as far as the revenue, just the city itself.
That's a great point. Like, what if the biggest change that comes because in 5 years everything will be stabilized, right? Like, we'll know where everything is. We'll know like it'll be the big two conferences. We'll all be where we're at. But then, like, I mean, you're still gonna in your SEC, you're still gonna have like your lower tier programs like your Vandy or Mississippi State or stuff like that. But like, imagine if every week we got rid of this like Florida State Syracuse or Florida State Boston College, Florida State. Like you had those big games, even like a mid-level SEC program, like an Ole Miss coming to Tallahassee, like that'd be awesome, bro. Like you don't. Right. So I think it's going to get rid of a lot of like the ceiling gets raised. Like you talk about
fresh schedules, man.
Any of this stuff, bro. Tennessee going to Miami. I mean, who wouldn't watch that right now? You're right. Like neither team's been great lately, but like in 5 years, that's going to be a fire matchup down in South Florida, man. Like that to me, that's the coolest thing. Is like hopefully we get rid of all these crap trash schedules where you're not playing anybody fun. Like we played Duquesne week 1, right? Like it's gonna be nice to finally win a game the first week, but like, come on, man! Like nobody's hyped up for that. Nobody cares about that crap at all.
Ready to celebrate.
We're trying to just play. Like, so I think the schedules are gonna be a ton of fun in a few years when all this gets stabilized and normalized.
Somebody get the pizza.
Right. I'm
I
trying to
wish
figure out.
I wish that was my house.
Somebody get the
better
pizza.
be a pizza.
All right, let's talk a little bit of Florida State in this, man. If they were to like something weird happens and Florida State ends up in the Big Ten, how you feel about that, CJ?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I won't have an issue with that too because the money is coming in. I mean, you're looking at the TV deals that both of these programs have. Both of these conferences have, it's just on par. You talk about the draws about, Florida State or Tennessee and Miami or Florida State and Ole Miss. Yeah, you get a Florida State Ohio State matchup, that's big time. You get a Florida State Penn State matchup, you get a Florida State USC matchup, or if you get a Florida State Michigan, et cetera, et cetera. I think it'll be fine. I think we'll get used. Well, and just like TJ stated earlier, the proximity and going to away games and stuff like that. Hell, you can get on the plane in this 2 hours just like that. So travel, the world is a lot smaller now. So I wouldn't be upset with the Big Ten either. Of course, SEC just fits better, more so because Tallahassee fits within the style of the SEC, traditional SEC programs, and just what you're looking for within the SEC. But I'll adjust to that Big Ten life real quick, man. I promise you.
Yeah, you talked about the travel and stuff, and we're already going to Syracuse. We're already going to Boston College every year. We're already going to Virginia Tech different years. So I don't know, Columbus is too much different. The one thing that would be kind of crazy is going across country to USC, but talk about, a game in the Coliseum. I think what would be the two differences to me for Florida State is the SEC is still going to be considered the premier of the two conferences. I think they're both going to be considered really good. So you want to go to where there's a higher payout, where it's a better conference and things like that. So you're always going to lean the SEC. I think the pro of going to the Big Ten is that it's not it's going to be easier to win the Big Ten than it is the SEC. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to win the Big Ten at all, but you got more of the teams like Rutgers, Illinois, Purdue. You got some easier matchups, and even UCLA and stuff. It's not Bama and Florida and Georgia and Texas A&M and LSU and stuff. So
the floor is way lower.
It is. Now that's still beating Ohio State and Michigan and all that. We're nowhere close to that right now. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that winning in the Big Ten theoretically should be a little bit easier than winning the SEC. So there's pros and cons to everything.
We see those type of Southern teams look speed-wise versus
true
over time.
We're also only talking about from a football perspective. A lot of these programs are like subpar in football, but they have very elite basketball programs like Duke, Virginia, even North Carolina, like second-tier football programs. But when the fall and the wintertime hit, they got some big dogs as far as it comes to the hoops. What do y'all feel about even Duke, Virginia, Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, those type of programs? Where do they end up in this mix when it's all said and done?
I thought
they still big dogs in the basketball world, right?
Yeah, I thought UNC, Virginia, and Duke would fit. Perfect with the big. They fit perfect with the big because from a Virginia standpoint.
Imagine that conference.
You get Maryland to come back.
That's some good
But
basketball.
then. And talking about
And
basketball wise, oh my God, look at them fall matchups that Ohio State, Virginia, Purdue, Virginia, you got Duke, Purdue, it's a lot of Michigan, Michigan, UNC, Duke, Wisconsin, they all strong, consistent basketball programs to where I think that would make that more attractive than anything. I thought that would have been for Duke, UNC, and Virginia. I thought the big would be the perfect marriage for sports. I'd much rather have early falls in Ann Arbor, than in Tuscaloosa by 5. If you asking me.
I feel that.
I think I don't know about Duke, but I do think, Virginia's shown a propensity to be good in the past, right? Not just your absolute power. Yeah. UNC's shown a propensity to have good teams here and there. And, they did a good job with Sam Howell a couple of years ago and they found a way to get to 10. So I do think those two teams could get into one of these big conferences and be like an Ole Miss, right? I don't think they're ever going to be just world beaters. I don't expect Virginia or North Carolina to win anything crazy soon. But I do think that would.
North Carolina is invested though.
I think that
right now.
I think you raise that up a little bit, and those teams do become pretty good. I'm not going to come out here and say that Duke's going to do that, but I think North Carolina, Virginia. Look at a team. Look what NC State's done the last couple of years in the ACC. What if that team could get to the SEC and make some noise every 5 or so years, right? I'm not saying they're going to win it, but I think they could be in it. I also think that any of these, any of our teams that we're mentioning right now, Florida State, Virginia, UNC, if any of them get in the Big Ten and and I know this is not what you guys brought us on here to talk about, but they're going to dominate all the Olympic sports just because teams in the South, they're going to win all the softball stuff, all the baseball stuff, a lot of the basketball stuff. Like that stuff's going to be nasty. Now, I mean, coming to the SEC with a lot of these teams, I think that Florida State's going to compete just kind of like everybody else. But you send any of those teams up north in the Big Ten,
it's going to be a wash.
It's going to be a wrap.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah.
And I think it depends. Is the end game 20 teams, 24 teams? Hypothetically, let's say it's 24, since we're including like an NC State. To me, if Virginia, Duke, North Carolina was to go to the Big Ten, SEC could easily pivot and get Virginia Tech and North Carolina State better football brands and still get into those new markets you guys were talking about. And those two programs do care about football. So I think they could fit in that regard too. And I just think whatever doesn't land in those two conferences, there's going to be kind of a de facto third conference that's going to form. That's going to kind of, I guess, be the bridge between
mid conference.
Yeah. Big mid.
Big mid. Right.
Whatever left over is going to be mid as hell. Don't get caught in the wash, man.
The pack ass.
The pack ass. The pack of ass.
I thought about. I got a good buddy that. So it's a little bit funny, and then I'll take it serious. But I mentioned this in the chat the other day. But it is kind of funny that UCF like pounded their chest for like a whole year about going to the Big 12, and now the Big 12 is just going to absolutely like fall apart here in a couple of weeks.
That's hilarious, right? Yeah.
But the serious part of that is okay. So say the Big 10 and the SEC take like between 20 and 24 teams, right? So you're going to end up with like 40 to 50 teams in the big conference. And then you're going to have like 60 or so teams in the lower conference. UCF could be and so like then say the playoff expands, right? To like 8 teams. And you get 6 from the big conference in the playoffs and 1 or 2 from the small conference in the playoffs. UCF could be like the 50th best team in the country, right? Like they could be the best team in that lower conference. That might, and that might not be a bad spot for them. Like, because you're never going to win it all, but you're never going to win it all either way. You just be the best of the lower conference.
That'll basically put them exactly where they're at right now, though.
Right, and so you got an outside chance. You got an outside chance of making the playoff. You got to win. You got to be the best of those bottom 60. And so, like, the teams that are going to compete, they're going to be UCF, Cincinnati, Memphis, like those teams, Houston, that are already kind of competing for that anyway. They're never going to win it all, but maybe they sneak in as an 8 seed or something like that. Maybe you give them an automatic qualifier if you're the best of the crap teams or something. That's not a bad place to be in.
What do you think the playoffs look like, though? I think this winds down to like the Big Ten and the SEC creating their own shit in playoffs.
I agree.
All the win and get a buy-in. I think that shit's out the window. I think these guys are gonna create their own system, and eventually NCAA gonna have to. They're gonna be monitoring shit like the pack ass.
So,
but the SEC and the Big Ten about to do their own shit, man, or the big, whatever they call it.
I can see that's a good question. I can see them separate. So I can see the separation in which you just had
AFC, NFC.
I can see that something like that, and I can also see in where they crown the national championship within each other. And I could also see
2 national champions.
Well, 2 national championships, but I guess you could say conference championship, but it carries the national championship weight. I can also see them expanding of college football playoffs from 8 to 16 teams.
Well, that's kind of the plan. The hope is to the 2 power conferences to move under the umbrella of the college football playoff instead of the NCAA. So you could regulate certain rules, especially when we're talking about now NIL, what's legal, what's not for these certain teams. And then even I was listening to a podcast, they were saying that those other schools, instead of them trying to get into that league, why not them just do a playoff, kind of like how Division II does, like how North Dakota State and those type of teams. Imagine if would you rather get into that playoff and lose in the first round, or would you rather be the best of that second tier, like your UCFs, your Houston? I'd rather them have a playoff, and it would give those teams more reason to keep playing. Because I think if you try to let just one team get in, they could probably make way more money if they did another playoff with those other schools. Because there's a lot of schools that, I mean, technically not going to get in the playoff anyways, but imagine like a Washington State.
I guess it could go really either way. Like you said, you could have your own playoff, or like you said, if you had the Big Ten and the SEC and they're called whatever they're called, and then you have one other conference underneath it, like one just kind of crap conference, right? Like the everybody else's or whatever, not your premier.
Pack ass.
You could Miami and the other guys. You could,
ass, man.
But those guys aren't gonna those guys aren't going to make the playoff anyway, and they already know that, and they still go out there and compete and play every week anyway. So I don't think it's really changing that much by just saying they're, like if you're USF, right? I mean, they're local school here. I always kind of cheer for them to do well. You go out and play your 12 games, and you're not going anyway. So like, what's the difference if they're not in the SEC or Big Ten? Like there could be an agreement between like the three conferences where the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Pac-Ass all come together and say like, yeah, we're going to get 3 teams in. You're going to get 3 teams in, and this one you're going to get 1. Or like, that's not good math, but like we're going to get 4 teams, and then you get 2 teams, and your 2 teams got to play like, so like say it's a 10-team playoff, right? And you have some buys in there, and then you just make the 2 worst teams play the second place, and like they're just. They're going to get beat every time, but
from a fan perspective, that this is the best case scenario for fans. Then you get like the way they setting it up now in the bigger playoffs. You get
how many games you think you're going to be getting though? That's the thing.
I think the games drop a little bit. Like people talking about 13 games or Miami playing Florida every year. I don't think there's enough games to go around to make all that shit happen. And I think the schedules need to be fresher to keep the fans, a little bit change the way college football, the tradition of this shit. But from a fan perspective, you get damn near a March Madness, but in football, there could be a Cinderella ass team like UCF that can upset a Bama and have an opportunity to make a run in the playoffs. That's like the best scenario you could ask for, like what TJ saying. In that scenario, that's the best you could ask for college football. Everybody really has a shot.
Hey, I got to answer that and a question to that too. While we were watching, if you guys could do us a favor and hit the subscribe button, we've had well over 50 people in here for most of the night. Hit the share button. You can hit the share on here and get it out. We certainly would appreciate it. Let people know that we're in here hanging out. We'll probably be hanging out for a little bit longer, but hit that share button, hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, like all those things. We appreciate it.
All right, we got about another 30 minutes for you, but also this is brought to you by the Graham Co. Visit thegramco.com. Use coupon code ROLLUP25. Hey, fuck with them gummies. I ain't got time to do the corporate ad read.
I'm not on the gummies all the way right now. Roll up 25.
I'm telling the people. Them gummies though.
Tell them what's up.
Hey,
gummies though, man.
Paul, you had your gummies yet?
Haven't had them yet this weekend.
Come on, man. Hey, OG, you had yours. My man.
My wife love them shits too. We be in here, cuz it sound like Chuck E. Cheese in here.
Get out, bro.
She be chill. I walked in the crib today. She was just so mellow. She was like, "Hey, I'm about to start cooking dinner." I was like, "You ate that gummy?" She was like, "Yep." I was like, "Hey." "Hey, you nice."
That's amazing.
It's a lifestyle, man.
Hey, man,
roll up 25.
If that don't make you give, I don't know nothing else will. Man. I'm telling you that's the story right there. But the gummies definitely work, man.
Gummies will hit, bro.
Oh, they hit. Everything hits, and also the price is perfect, man. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with the Graham Co gummies. What you're getting for the whole package, you're typically paying for one at a dispensary. So man, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and the quality is amazing.
My buddy Dustin hit me up and was like, "Yeah, so." I usually pay like $25, which is that's how much the Graham Co gummies are. They're 20 if you use our code roll up 25. But he was showing me what he got, and he gets like 10 milligrams for like nothing, for like the same price. And they just recently upped the size. Yeah, go hit the Graham Co gummies, thegramco.com.
Already.
If you forget the roll up 25, you use TJ 25, but whatever, it don't matter.
Oh yeah, baby. TJ 25. TJ 25.
No, I'm just playing. Roll up 25. You heard it on here. So here's what I think. Silk was talking about the playoff and refreshing the schedules and stuff. Like I was talking about, you got to get rid of those crap games. I mean, if you want to keep one bad game on, like I guess keep one bad game on, but I think you got to go down to like
we're gonna kill lower level football with this shit.
We are, man. Like
it's gonna die.
But it just is what it is, bro. Like it's like big bit. Like Amazon killed a lot of people too. So like it just is what it is, bro. I don't know. I think
bank take little bank.
I think you lower it to like, okay, so how about this?
Use those programs to recruit right now, like a little bit, but it's a weird space, man. We got a lot to watch, bro. We'll see how it all unfolds, man. But it is.
I could see them
going, bro.
I could see them going to a 10-game schedule where you play 9 conference games and you get one out of conference, right? So whether that's a bad team, another good team, whatever, you get 10 games overall. So you lower the schedule, and then you do exactly what you're talking about. You have a playoff of like 16 teams. And that's up to like 4 or 5 more games if you're talking about buys. And so your champion's still playing like 15 games.
I like that.
Everybody else, you lose, man. You only get 11 games. I mean, your revenue goes down because you're playing less that year. But that's a little bit of encouragement to not suck, right? Don't suck. You play more games.
Also, like 16 teams are making the overall fans gonna be enjoying
People
like
gonna
the
love
postseason
that,
and shit.
man.
Like now,
Nobody
the ball's
cares,
hit,
right.
everybody's out. Like like people like, oh, y'all lost to UCF, bro. Who gives a shit? All the coaches are gone, players are transferred, declared. Who's showing up to these bowl games now? Like everybody's bought out. Nobody's really bought in after like if you ain't making it to the playoffs, everybody checking out. You know what I'm saying? This keeps everybody engaged. If you got an opportunity to be the 16 teams, that's a lot of teams that got an opportunity to win national championship.
And then these bowl sponsors could sponsor that game and make their money back that way instead of these bowl games no one care about.
Right.
So everybody eats.
Big right.
Yeah, because them shit's gonna pack out. A lot of these bowl games be empty as fuck. Like these playoff games are gonna pack out. I don't give a fuck who the 16 team
Especially
is.
Because it's something to play for.
Right.
You've had less football through the year, right? Like less regular season games, so fans have had to go to less stuff. You are getting new exciting matchups. Like it's not going to be Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State that's probably the playoff again this year, right? Like how many times are we going to watch that, right? So you're going to have new exciting matchups in the playoffs that people want to see. Like CJ, right now, like we haven't even been good, but right now, if there was a playoff matchup that was us and Ohio State, even if we were the 15 seed and they were the 2
Y'all
seed,
showing up to lie. Y'all
that
showing up
thing
to lie.
would be nuts, man. Because you never know, man, in a 60-minute game. You never know what could happen.
Y'all lie about any. I know y'all lying for a playoff lie.
Right. You got right. Imagine that.
I mean,
lie
even
about any damn thing.
if we're gonna lie, let's just go ahead and say that we're the 2 seed and they're the 15 seed. Let's really lie then.
Right. It makes sense, right?
Say it again.
But no, seriously, I agree 100% with you, TJ, in regards to that. You know, we want those fresher matchups. So, say for instance, Miami gets in, and then you have a Miami versus Michigan or something like that, or you have a Miami versus Texas,
Georgia,
Georgia, say
all
for
that
instance,
stuff,
any of those type of teams, or you have an NC State that sneaks in, or an NC State that sneaks in, and they're playing a Florida, LSU, or something like that. You know, just the excitement of it. I agree. Just those fresher teams. So seeing those. Even though we watch them every year, those same games do get repetitive when you have that fresher blood in those matchups that you don't typically see. A USC and Georgia, so to speak. So you have those matchups that you don't typically see within the playoffs. I think a lot of people be bought in for it.
Yeah, what happens with Georgia Tech, which is an academic program? You got to keep that rivalry with them and Georgia somewhat intact. I was hoping to have our Georgia guys on the show before we start talking, but Graham's still stuck in traffic. Not Graham Cole, Graham Coffee Graham from 100 Sanford.
Graham Cole's never late, but Graham is.
Right.
It's like
now, Graham Cole has been late. It depends on how you eat that gummy. If you eat that gummy on an empty stomach, it may hit late. It may hit late. I ate like 3 gummies, bro, just on the vibe. Like, man, I don't know if it's working today. Man, I went and got some food. I ate, and all that shit hit me like a brick.
Yeah, don't take personal advice. Don't take the second one. Because it took you a minute to feel the first one. Let me just say that.
Shit. Yeah, man.
Yeah, if you're a rookie.
I am.
These ain't your normal gummies, bro. I'm telling you something. Y'all know I'm a pothead. These ain't your normal gummies, man. You gotta know what you're doing before you just jump behind the wheel of this shit, man. Don't just go 2 and 3 listening to me.
That's exactly what I did, cuz I'm a pothead. I ate one. I'm like, damn. I guess I might need to eat another John. I ate another one because I woke up on the couch. I was like, I looked at the clock. I was like, 3:30. I was like, damn.
You sound like me. In your whole outfit.
Yep. And I was completely dressed. Everybody was in their rooms. I missed everything. Bath time.
That's how I be. That's how I be. I prefer back to the conference. I prefer Miami and the way they line it up, I prefer Miami and the SEC. It's just people weird with them out there by themselves like that. That shit look crazy as shit.
So
for real, like think about it. It would look crazy as shit. The schedule on paper, it would look. The troll would be funny for like a couple weeks, but after that shit, bro, like when they gotta go to Wisconsin for games and
no, it's not the Wisconsin game. It's the Purdue game and the Northwestern game.
Like, I gotta go to Northwestern. That's gonna be terrible.
God, imagine.
Miami versus Illinois,
no, I agree with that. Like, I think it's better for the SEC if Miami's in there. Not that they need them, but I do think it's better. But yeah, these jokes are gonna get had if y'all get left out.
Hey, I'm gonna laugh with y'all. It's funny.
Yeah, I ain't trying to get left out of nothing, cuz for real. we got to make a move. But I know they is. I know Virginia is. My question is though, you know what I'm saying? You know, I feel
Oh,
like
we
this
got
whole
Graham in the building.
conference.
What's up, fellas? Good to see you.
We got,
Now,
Graham, how
go
you
ahead.
doing?
Who? I'm sorry. Who? Go ahead. We
no,
got.
you grab my dude. It's good, Grant.
Not much, man.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Who?
go ahead.
Finish the
All right,
question.
so you see how I feel like anyway, a lot of this conference realignment is about power between the networks, not even the
Right.
schools.
For sure.
So you know what I'm saying? I keep seeing, you know what I'm saying, Amazon gonna get into the chip. So I wonder how that's gonna be when you see, you know, a multi-billion entity like that that's trying to build their whole network, how that's gonna come into play.
All this
You
money
know what I'm
gets slung
saying? With
around.
that.
And all they worried about is the NIL bread. That's crazy to
Yeah,
me. That's
yeah.
insane.
So
It's a
I
lot of
think
money on the
Amazon.
table.
Yeah, it's between the NIL and all these companies that's trying to get in shit. Even you see Apple trying to get a seat at the table. It's gonna be interesting to see in the next 5 years, like you said, how this all play out once it play out. You know,
Right.
I imagine they said the same thing back in like 1990. You know what I'm saying, when they had that split national championship, when they
Right.
decided went from two major conferences. I know that would be like a worst case scenario if 5 years down the road, that's what we looking at. I feel like, you know what I mean, to where we
For sure.
can't now in today's game establish, you know what I'm saying, the actual winner, the best team out here. TJ, what you said, I feel like that right there was probably one of the best scenarios that I heard, you know what I'm saying, with the whole playoff. That shit would be sweet though.
Right. Like, share. Shout out my man Braxton in the comments. Like, share, all of that, man. Let the people know what it is. We got Graham from the 100 Sanford pulled up with us. Graham, I want to get your opinion on. You had some good takes about Miami joining the SEC. What do you think the SEC does? You got all the insider shit. What are you hearing?
Man, I think this is different than the last time around. Like, I've heard people talk about the Miami market, right? Which obviously there's a large population base down there, but like this isn't like it was when Rutgers and Maryland were going to the Big Ten just because they wanted to like open up those carrier rights. Like you were just talking about, you know, the streaming eyeballs is where all this is about, right? So it's like I feel like this is about brands, not about geography as much, which, you know, Florida State and Clemson, I think, are just natural fits. Like, they've always operated like SEC schools within the ACC. There's obviously a lot of natural rivalries there. I mean, Clemson and Georgia, you talk to some old-time UGA folks, like, they hate Clemson more than they hate Florida, Auburn, you know. I mean, like, they see that as the number one in some cases. So,
Yeah, this within 2 hours of each other.
yeah, it's like an hour and a half, 70, 80 miles up the road. And Clemson recruits Georgia. I mean, like, you know, they got Deshaun out of UGA's backyard and you know, Trevor as well, right? So, but I think with Miami, the difficult thing is, like, there's the academic profile that fits the Big Ten, right? But on the SEC side of things, like, is Florida okay with this? Like you guys are the Gator perspective, right? Like, are you all right with all of a sudden Florida State and Miami coming into the league?
Right.
Like, how does that feel?
It's only going to be 2 leagues. That's how I see it, bro. This is just the future. Like, if there was still like options for and keep them out, I just don't see that as an option. They're going to join one of these leagues, and I don't think it's just smart. It turns into a baby NFL. So, like, the conference rivalry, all that shit's out the window at this point. Everything's kind of evening it up. You know what I'm saying? As far as, like, everybody being able to cheat, everybody being in the same conferences. Like, shit's starting to even it up. It's just going to come down to who want to spend more money and invest in this shit. But things are starting to even themselves out in a lot of ways. So, like, I'm with progress, man. Whatever change is, like, them joining the conference ain't going to change shit. I'm going to hate them motherfuckers the same, Graham. In this conference or out. It don't matter.
Well, I mean, I think it's like, as a college football fan, I'd love to see Miami, Florida, and Florida State play every year, right? Like, I think that's enjoyable, but there's also, like, I heard you guys talking about Georgia Tech earlier. Like, as a Georgia person, I think, like, UGA folks look at Georgia Tech as, like, you guys were in the SEC, you left, you're not ever coming back, right? Like, I don't think Georgia would like to see Georgia Tech come in. And I mean, it's the same with the Big Ten, though, right? Like, you don't want to see all of a sudden Ohio State playing in Atlanta every year, right? Like, that's that's not necessarily good for UGA's in-state recruiting. So it's kind of a lose-lose scenario for everybody, like with all of this. But like the one that interests me the most, I think, is UNC, because I think if you're the SEC and you can put together UNC, and then like the SEC network's headquartered in Charlotte, right? Like that's a natural fit. But if you can either bring in UVA or Virginia Tech and reach up to that DMV area in DC, like that's a great recruiting bed, as we all know. Vic and so many guys came out of there, but like I think that's what makes sense geographically. I don't see the SEC doing something like the Big Ten did, where they're going to skip, 3 time zones west or something and bring in somebody that does.
Who would even be worth it though? If you like, that's a good point. Graham. Oregon would be the only brand that would make sense for me for the West Coast to go get. Like nobody else in California matters. I don't think Utah really matters. I think Oregon's like the only one that you would even think about going and getting.
What about Washington though? I mean, like Washington.
Yeah, Washington.
I mean, if you still got to keep some balance.
Washington got a brand, and Utah.
If you're trying to keep a balance of academics as well, because that's another prestige. Like some of these conferences are going to try to keep. Then Stanford's also like a valuable piece in that sense. But I just don't think it makes sense like to add a West Coast team to most of this shit, bro.
One that we're not, and this is a good question here.
I do like USC. USC to the big.
That was a good move.
A little bit more. That was sexy. Yeah. That's sexy for them.
You need
I like that
for
them. Yeah.
So this is a good question.
USC, that shit. No, I like. Go ahead, TJ.
One that we're not talking about, and it has come up in the chat a couple of times. So, but we just haven't brought up on here. I think Oklahoma State has just as good of a brand as like Washington or Stanford or any of these others. Not academically, right? As Stanford, but I think Oklahoma State is kind of one of the ones we talk a lot about the ACC, but Oklahoma State has the best brand left in the Big 12. And I could see thus going and getting them to kind of, I mean, you're not going to compete with Oklahoma, right? Like that, they've got just such a bigger brand. But Oklahoma State with SEC money and in this geography, I think Oklahoma State's one that they're going to kind of go after. And that's one that like nobody's really talking about.
They've been a pretty good football program also.
And you got your low key, you got your sleeper. My sleeper is Louisville. That's the real big dog. I am with you on that, Silk. That's the big dog here, like on the Lord's.
Oh, because they'll cheat.
I'm telling y'all, man, Louisville is. I've been telling y'all about Louisville.
Cheat. I mean, Kentucky.
It's just
Kentucky doesn't want that. Exactly, Graham. Kentucky doesn't want that at all.
They with the shits in football now, right? But from a basketball perspective, they bring a lot to the table, bro.
They with the shits in basketball too,
right? So Louisville is a huge play and a huge piece in all of this shit for sure.
Yeah, they'll wipe Kentucky right out, cuz.
That's why Kentucky don't want them in this motherfucker, man. Kentucky said, get them. Nah, don't bring them to the SEC. Hell no.
Oh, yeah.
Papa John's money.
Yeah.
Out of here.
So there's a question in the chat, man. So, what if someone would
bring that back on?
Yeah. Would there be a scenario where the SEC would drop a team or teams that don't want to win much? Basically, long story short, would the SEC drop a team, or would teams within the SEC be looking out elsewhere also?
Vanderbilt.
No, Vandy likes passing them checks, bro. They ain't leaving.
Yeah, but yeah, they established the SEC, so now Vanderbilt.
I mean, somebody like Mizzou would probably want out if they just
Mizzou,
because some of these conferences are offering like different type of sharing, like with profits that's gonna be they're gonna have to get a little bit more lucrative with the bread to poach like an SEC team, so they're gonna have to start probably sharing more money, that type of shit. So. I do think somebody's going to eventually walk out of this shit, but it's going to be like Mizzou, Arkansas, some weird shit.
Everybody always talks about Vanderbilt getting kicked out of the SEC, but the SEC likes them there because they're a private school, which means they're not subject to Freedom of Information Act requests. So anytime there's an SEC meeting, Vanderbilt's involved, which means journalists and other people can't go out and FOIA that stuff and then put the business out in public. So it kind of protects them to have a Vanderbilt in the league.
I like that little mob move. Let me break it down to my people because they probably missed some shit you said. He said they keeping Vandy around because Vandy got like they can't fuck with Vandy business. Vandy protected by like
Vandy's the feds, bro.
Vandy the feds. They can't fuck with Vandy at all. So they keep Vandy around. So when they have meetings with Vandy, they can't get Vandy business. so they can't get the rest of the SEC business. It's real mafia shit going on. I appreciate that information, Graham. I ain't know that shit.
No worries. So one thing I thought was interesting was
They invite you to the meetings and shit. How you get this information?
Yeah.
I don't know. I read it somewhere.
This is Graham's last podcast, bro. Vandy's getting rid of Graham.
I go ahead, bro.
No, so we were talking about like Washington, Oregon, those brands, but like Andy Staples put a tweet out earlier today listing how many games some of those
we talked
teams-
about it.
Yeah, with 1 million plus viewers, like Washington's had more million viewer games than Oregon has, or Miami. You know, like I don't know. It's interesting because I think Washington is a.
What's your take on that?
Brand.
What's your take on that? Because we talk about like Miami in that market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is that? If they
Man, them people ain't watching them damn Miami Hurricanes play, man. Them people don't give a damn what Miami Hurricanes got going on Saturday, man.
Maul, man, you gotta do something, Mike. Maul.
Y'all say it all the time. There's so much to do in Miami, right? Y'all say it all the time.
It's true, because guess what? With that 1 year we was winning, everybody was hyped. It is what it is.
But just back outside of the fan stuff, like back to like the market. Then why is it a big market? If your viewership isn't as high as these others, like if it's on par.
Are we talking about Miami
Washington
right now? Or are we talking about Washington?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Miami is
Basically the same.
if they're winning, it's big viewership. It just is what it is. Washington had a couple good years, probably why their viewership went up. They got a Seattle market, a lot of people over there. It's just a matter of what does the SEC want? Does the SEC want to extend, or does the Big Ten want to eventually give some partner? But the bottom line is Notre Dame is the linchpin. Nothing's going to happen, I think, huge until Notre Dame decides what they want to do. And I had a question for you guys.
SEC ain't waiting around on no Notre Dame.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's stay on that for a minute because like,
not SEC.
I think we know that that Notre Dame's probably going to end up in the Big Ten.
Right.
And like if the SEC, but even if it's not,
If
the SEC
down here,
if the SEC could add,
they gonna start cheating and and come down to this shit. Well, I'm telling you, they gotta stay up north. Like the hell hot down here. They can't come down here, bro. They gotta be.
If the SEC could add Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and whoever, North Carolina, Virginia, whatever, a fourth team, you think they really care about like Notre Dame? The SEC is still the better conference. Would you like Notre Dame? Sure. But like, I don't think it matters.
I don't want Notre Dame in the SEC. Like, it just don't fit. Like, I'd rather have like Miami in the SEC than Notre Dame. Notre Dame just don't fit down here. They need to be in the big or by their damn self. But down here, like I said, they're gonna get their shit pushed in, man. The culture is just different.
Weekly. They're gonna have to change their academic standards.
Their fans gonna stop traveling, bro. Like they
don't want to be in the Big Ten though. That's the funny part, because they don't want a schedule where they don't want to be like Nebraska, where you're in the Midwest and like you're playing Northwestern, Purdue. They rather have that schedule where they play a Carolina school every year so they can recruit Charlotte. They play Georgia Tech with that type of ACC schedule, and they get to go out west. They bank on being a national brand. So I think
tell them this ain't the 1920s no more, bro.
Hey,
they got to go.
I think the big right now they can't play the politics with that shit no more. But it's all TV as well. But I think the TV gonna make them force their hand as well.
Eventually,
I think the jig's up.
What I think happens is once the college football playoff committee, once they take over these two leagues, they're probably going to make a rule. You got to be in one of these conferences in order to make the playoff.
Right.
At that point, you force their hand. But Notre Dame's probably not going to make that decision until
they need to get off their high horse. They're good enough for all this shit. Who else got something? What's up? You have something, CJ?
No. I'm good. Just listening.
What about Virginia Tech? Y'all talk about them yet?
Nah, not a whole lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's
not a whole lot.
Curious, you know.
I mean,
I think that'd be a good. We talk about that DMV. That's an untapped territory. That'd be good for the SEC. We talked about it. Just the talent that they have from a recruiting standpoint, and we know Blacksburg. They're a passionate fan base when it comes to football, and then that's a pretty tough stadium. You bring in some SEC vibes to it. I think Virginia Tech will fit well within the conference.
Yeah, football wise, they definitely fit.
Yeah,
like the
they
culture
fit football wise.
For sure.
And the other wise, they ain't got it. You know what I'm saying? I think I think the better choice for them, from my standpoint, again, I would say would be the big, because if Virginia Tech went to the SEC right now, you know what I'm saying? This ain't 2005 Virginia Tech. You know what I'm saying? Right. Everybody and their mama winning in Blacksburg. That brand ain't the same.
It'll take time, but most of Virginia kids used to. And you know better than me. Most of Virginia kids used to go to V Tech when it came to football, right? Now, if you bring in some
they
SEC,
had their
SEC
time.
logo, do you think it could be the same?
I think it would increase. Just like I said, I think ours would increase. So I think,
Just over time, they'll be good.
Yeah, over
Okay.
time. It would take a time, you know what I'm saying? Because if you look at it, even Arkansas, they recruit different than how Virginia and Virginia Tech does, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
They offensive linemen, you know what I'm saying, it's 10 times the size of ours, cuz, you know what I'm saying? So it is completely a different standpoint. I feel like the last 16 years versus our last 16 years, and when you add it up, it'll take another 16 for them to get to that point. You feel me?
Right.
But I do think it would extend their brand and add to it for sure, though.
Culturally, I feel like Virginia Tech's a better fit for the SEC than Virginia.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, Virginia. I definitely think
Virginia just bring that academic prestige in baseball.
Yep, I know who we are. You know what I'm saying? We got the
UVA
big
is
vibes.
like, I mean, I think the SEC would love to have a school like UVA because it just raises the profile and
if
prestige is a little different in Virginia.
Yeah, if the SEC was concerned about, you know what I'm saying, raising the academic standpoint, then they would, you know what I'm saying, try and acquire a team like Virginia. But we all know what it's about at the end of the day, and they don't give a damn about. They don't care about no academic. This is an arms race right now. You ain't trying to go out and get small guns. You're trying to go get some big guns.
So what got to happen for? There was some talk about the ACC possibly dissolving. Like what got to happen for that to dissolve completely?
Shit, Clemson,
Clemson, Miami.
I just think
Florida leave.
Yeah,
if
one
Florida
team,
State leave. Yeah,
one team leaves. If one team leaves the conference,
this will be a domino.
The grant of rights is over.
Yeah.
But I thought the way that rights package was written up is like, if it's like one or two teams that leave and the rest don't dissolve
then they got to renegotiate, and as long as
pay their money back to the ACC from all the TV deal they make.
But the big thing is so they got to pay like in a certain amount. What they think would happen is they would just negotiate it like any other contract. They just negotiate the buyout. Which if the ACC is smart, they'll do that quickly because say 8 teams leave the SEC. The ACC right now. There's no conference left to pay. There's nobody, so that's what's going to hurt. The ACC needs to be trying to get the teams out because, they're either going to hold on too long and there ain't going to be no conference left to pay because everybody's going to be gone, or they can kind of resolve it early and try and make some kind of money. So we'll see.
Is there a scenario where you think the ACC could, you know what I'm saying, stay afloat and go out and offer some money to some teams, try and bring a team like Maryland, go get Illinois.
I don't think Maryland's leaving that Big Ten.
No, they're not going to leave those teams aren't going to leave the Big Ten. But from the way I understand it is, if a team is added to the ACC, the grant of rights also has to be renegotiated. And so the ACC is in a tough position where they can't add people either. And who's the only team they could really add to make a difference? Would be Notre Dame, and Notre Dame ain't joining.
Big fact.
So
big fact.
Yeah, that's done.
Go ahead, Grant.
No, it's just crazy. I grew up in North Carolina, and when UNC and Duke play basketball, right? There's nobody in the grocery store. There's nobody on the roads. It's like Super Bowl Sunday everywhere else, and it's it's just crazy to see how little basketball matters at all.
No, we talking about it. I was just about to bring Duke up.
Yeah, I get
the money. I was about to
bring
Duke back up, but even go ahead.
No, it's just separating UNC and Duke and NC State and Wake and UVA potentially. It's it was already weird when Maryland left for basketball reasons, but all of it is just, it's kind of sad, man. But I think from the SEC perspective, I feel like UNC and UVA, if they might be a package deal in all this, just because they're kind of similar academic schools and the regional part of all of it. But that's totally a guess. I don't know anything.
Yeah,
I have a question for you.
Y'all share, or retweet. Text your mama, let them know we talking that shit on here, man. We vibing a little bit. Go ahead, TJ.
Graham, we talked a little bit about the smaller teams, what their reaction might be, things like that. If you're Kentucky, you can't love this, right? If you're Mississippi State, you can't love this. If you're South Carolina's had some good times, here and there. But seriously, South Carolina can't love this. You can get all the way down to the bottom. I don't think it really matters for Vandy. Last is last, whether it's a 20-team conference or a 12-team conference. But the mid to low level teams in the SEC can't love this right now, right?
No, I mean, I feel like it hurts a school like South Carolina, or if Louisville were to come in the league, like right now, South Carolina and Kentucky can sit there and say, when they're recruiting an in-state kid versus Louisville, they can say, "Come play in the SEC." You're going to play in these big stadiums, and it's going to be a different experience, right, than playing in the ACC. But like, I don't know that it really changes anything for like a Mississippi State or an Ole Miss, because they're kind of isolated. It's not like someone's coming into their
Those SIP kids going to stay in the SIP for the most part.
Probably,
but from a win perspective, I think that's what TJ's saying. It messes them up as far as the pecking order, but recruiting, those SIP kids are going to stay in the SIP.
Well, I mean, like, I think it'd be fascinating, just all the shit that's been talked over the years of SEC versus other conferences. Like, what would it be like if UNC steps in, like, or Florida State or whoever? Like, are they beating Mississippi State? Are they getting beat by Mississippi State?
Right.
Is Kentucky waxing them every year? Like, and it would take a while to all balance out. But like, I do think some of these, like, you made the comment earlier about Arkansas. Like, Arkansas recruits top 25 recruiting classes every year. They're like 11th in the SEC every year.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Facts.
You put Arkansas in there against, I don't know, North Carolina. Like, I think
they killing them
very well. Yeah, exactly.
No, but North Carolina's recruiting well though. Like,
but they're built different on the
like a Virginia Tech, right? Like maybe that's a good way.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
yeah, a team that doesn't recruit similar. Yeah, North Carolina recruits similarly to Arkansas, but like a Virginia Tech or
Mac Brown does well.
Somebody crappy like Miami or something like that. Arkansas is just absolutely going to push their shit in. Maul left, so I was going to say that.
I'm more concerned about not concerned, but like, what does Duke play out? I mean, they got their academic.
Big Ten makes more sense for them, man.
I think them and Rutgers can duke it out for last in the Big Ten playing.
And we could have some hella basketball games.
Duke and Michigan playing basketball would be awesome. Like, Duke playing Michigan every year.
That big basketball season gonna be fire.
Like, look, Duke might geographically exist in Durham, North Carolina, but in reality, they're in New Jersey from like a BC. Spiritual, cultural standpoint. They would fit really well with the northern schools like that.
I like that take. Y'all got anything else? What do you got?
Yeah.
What do you got, TJ?
Thoughts on Graham? I want to get your thoughts on. Does A&M hate that Texas is coming? I know that's like we haven't talked about Texas and Oklahoma because they were the first ones to kind of have it happen, and now that's old news, even though it was like a year ago. But A&M can't like Texas coming to the SEC, right?
No, I mean they hate it, and like when that word started to leak out, like the school, it was all back channel. They're not going to come out publicly, but I mean, even Ross Bjork said like we want to be the only SEC team in Texas, the A&M athletic director. So yeah, they don't like it because look at how they've recruited versus Texas ever since coming into the SEC. For the last decade, they've done very well recruiting in comparison to UT. But I think it's just a matter of you're one team and 14 others or 13 others are voting the other way. But like, I do think this is a bad move for Texas and Oklahoma. Like, you look at what Sark is doing right now, got Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers, all that going on. Like, if they just stayed where they were and kept on that same trajectory, I think they have a very easy path to go 12-0 or 11-1 every year. And now all of a sudden they're going to have to play, who knows, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, A&M again.
They shit pushed in.
Yeah, they are. And like, Oklahoma's been a blue blood program in the college football playoff era. Like, that's over with, right? Like that coast into the college football playoffs every year.
It's just a wrap.
And then getting beaten by 30 by Clemson or Alabama.
You gotta really go spend some money winning the national championship now. You can't hide, you can't duck, bro. They condensed this shit down to like the per off the brick was what they say. They call it, TJ.
Well, I think what's going to possibly save them is an expanded playoff. If we get this thing up to 16, then you could see Texas and Oklahoma and those teams making it.
But are they any closer?
Not often.
Like right now,
to win it, you got to go through a gauntlet.
But they weren't winning it before anyway. They were going to be the fourth seed.
Like Oklahoma in 2017 was overtime away from playing Alabama for the national title, right?
I mean, they'll adjust eventually.
Like they had an easy path to a scenario where it's a 2-game playoff instead of having to run through 4 games. Like I feel like I don't
It
think
was
they were winning
unlikely either way, but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it took less luck.
right, exactly. Yeah.
OG had to go put the kids to bed, so I've been there. Man.
Already, man. My kids ain't got to be put to bed no more. Shout out to that.
Must be nice.
It's all right, man.
You'll get there soon, bro.
Yeah, man. They start
I keep
feeding themselves
restarting.
and shit. Yeah, you can't restart now. You ghost
Right,
right
no,
now.
we haven't told the public yet.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, we
We're out,
can
we're
get
out.
medical knowledge and shit out. Like, are we out of here? Oh yeah,
Yo, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think so. Good stuff.
I appreciate it, man. If you got,
content.
yeah, if you guys like, Harlan will put this up on iTunes and everything else. We'll put this out as an episode. But if you guys watched, if you listened, if you hung out, if you trolled, if you got your laughs off on Miami, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. Let people know we're in here hanging out. We'll do more pop-ups like this with the team. I think this stuff's fun, man. When some, I mean, as soon as the next news drops, like probably like in 2 weeks or something. Not when some swimming guy says it's dropping, but when some news drops here in a little bit.
Shout out to him, man.
I'll tell you guys off air.
Anybody can be a source, man.
Bro.
Just tweet that bitch with confidence, man.
You got a blue check, bro. That's all that matters.
All that matters.
You just gotta bleed that bitch when you hit send, man.
Throw it.
I want to know if he made the same face I make before I get a real good troll off. Like if he was like, all right,
This shit
I'm going to get 4,000 people today.
Go ahead.
It's like wait till the Miami and Virginia Tech fans see this.
Oh, man. Yeah, he like intention. And then you could tell he was trolling because somebody was like, oh, what about Miami? He's like, oh, Florida's trying to block them getting in.
Bro,
you know, like Florida plays Alabama, Georgia, LSU. Florida State every year, and they're worried about Miami.
We draw a line at Miami.
Yeah, it's the team that hasn't won their conference that
Florida
we don't
to the
want
Big
to
Ten.
get.
You heard it here first.
What you say?
I said Florida to the Big Ten. You heard it here.
Yeah,
first.
they're
Just
gonna.
kidding, though.
I'll fucking right. I ain't going none of them games, boy. Fuck, I like going to watch some Illinois. All right, let's get out of here. I know you playing make believe with me with Graham.
Y'all can run it, man. Play Ohio State. And
No, we're gonna fuck y'all up. We finna
All
get
right,
out. Yeah, we're gonna fuck y'all up, Graham.
Get a couple wide receivers. You're feeling yourself. I see how it is.
Already, bro.
I like it. I'm excited.
I'll be talking real greasy, man. I just need a couple more of these things to land, man. Well, let's get out of here. It's not about us.
So we can
Two
Get
more
out of here.
gummies.
enjoy it,
Hit that
guys.
share button.
Hey, the gummies is big.
Hit that share button. Hit subscribe. Thank you guys for hanging out. So can you close us out? I just want to tell the people one more time. Hit that
Just
share
close
button.
it out. You can give me some shit to do.
All right, close it out, Harlan. See you.